Alright, today I'm going to show you how we're going to sear steaks with a propane oxygen torch. And what's kind of neat with this approach, here I got a pork chop. It is completely frozen solid. So when I use the torch, this thing gets pretty hot. I think with propane oxygen, I think we're talking about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's about right. I have to double check. But as I go past, back and forth on the steak, it'll not only will it sear the surface of the pork chop, but it'll also thaw it out. So if you ever at last minute, man, I want a piece of steak or a pork chop right now. This is how you do it. So here I got my setup. I added one of these cheap Benzomatic kits that you can buy from the hardware store. What it was is they give you a container of MAP gas and one of those cheap things of oxygen, those little red bottles. Those things the little red bottles, they don't last you very long. They're about $9–10 a piece, and you get pretty expensive. And so, and the kit also is compatible with propane. So I really don't want to be heating up my stuff with MAP gas. So and so on the one hose, it's interchangeable with propane. So I just use these little green camping ones. But the thing is with when you're doing any sort of gas torching, it takes a lot of oxygen. With propane per se, it's 4-to-1. So it's four molecules of oxygen to every molecule of propane in order for the combustion. Well, using those little red bottles, compared to something like this, you run out pretty quick. So I think at most, with a red bottle, you might have about 10 minutes if you're lucky, and that's if you have a real small flame. So I wasn't quite happy with that. So I took the setup to a welding shop and said, "Hey, I'm tired of this thing running out of oxygen so much. What can you do?" So what they ended up doing was they just took the end of the one end, chopped it, and crimped down a connector that could hook up to a normal regulator, and then I got a 20 cubic foot oxygen bottle. And based on the proportions, with the 4-to-1, it actually ends up working out the 2.5 of these green bottles to or it's 2.5 for every one of these. So it's this combination is one of the perfect combos for apparently for this kind of torch. So let's get started. So all I'm going to do is get my propane started. Slow it down. When you first start, the flame tends to jump from the tip a little bit. That's open. Now the only thing with this, because this is such a small torch, even as I start to get the oxygen on the regulator side, the pressure barely moves. I think I'm lucky. If I think it really get going, I think it's up maybe 1, maybe 2 psi. But most of the time, the thing doesn't even move. So I'm probably operating half a psi or maybe or less. So, you gotta be careful too, because if you turn up the oxygen too much, it'll put out your flame. So we get our mixer going. Turn up our fuel. More oxygen. More fuel. this is, you don't really need that, you know, that big of a flame, but this is more than enough. And then what I recommend is, when you're doing this, I do this on a little cast iron skillet or something. So like this is same kind of thing if you don't want to like burn a hole through your tables or whatever. This seems to hold up pretty good once I'm trying to get the size of it. Now what I do is I just kind of go back and I just kind of wait until I watch the spot I'm on kind of just turn black, and it doesn't take very long. I mean, I'm just kind of, I'm almost just kind of painting it. And then what I end up doing is I try to avoid holding the tip perpendicular to the surface of the steak. So what I do is I try to keep about a 45-degree angle. Especially when you're working on the side too, you gotta be very careful not to get it perpendicular, because like the gas kind of will kind of push back against the tip and then blow out your flame. So there we go. So what we do is turn your oxygen back off. Start. Flip it over, and put it on this side. What's going on? I think I'm starting to run out. I think I'm running out of propane. Now, about it. Now, you have to remember that inside it's still raw. Like the outside may be seared. You still have to, then throw on the grill for, depending on how thick it is, you have to throw on the grill until it's finally cooked through. What this method's really good for, too, is if you have like a roast, maybe like like a 10-pound roast, you can go and you can sear the whole outside of the roast, and then go put it in the oven, or if you have a bit large enough grill, you can like maybe turn off one of the burners and put it on a pan, and just cook it for like 30-40 minutes or so, maybe longer, depending on the size. Yeah, and the bottom, like after you're done cooking, the bottom of the pan will be like bone dry, but when you cut that thing open, whew, man, it is a very nice, juicy piece of meat. All right, so now let's go ahead and throw this on the grill. All right. All right, so I got my grill already heated up. I'm going to try to aim for about 500 degrees. And it's probably, given the thickness of this, it's probably going to be about maybe 4 minutes on each side, and then it should be about done. So we'll go ahead and we'll close this. Alright, about 4.5 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and hold it. Come on. This one might need only 3 more minutes. Well, that's it. Actually been about 2 minutes at the last check, and it kind of feels like it's done. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and cut into this and see how. Well, actually, it looks pretty good. Pull this up. Looks like it's cooked all the way through. Give it a try. Oh wow, yeah, it is really wishy. But yeah, so pulling it straight out of the freezer, put on my cast iron. I just torch it to thaw it out and sear it at the same time and throw it on the grill. I think I had it on the grill for about maybe like 7.5 minutes or so. Whoop, and I'm done. The only drawback is, it's like if you're having a big party and you're trying to like sear up, doing like anything more than 5 steaks, depending, especially if you're big ones, it takes a while. So I know I haven't tried this yet, but maybe like searing, maybe earlier days, setting them aside and then go throwing it. Probably not advisable, or you can just go with a bigger torch. But just for a small one time, maybe a couple, maybe 3 steaks or so, that's perfect. So, if you have any questions on this process, I say go ahead and put them down in the comments. I'll respond to as many as I have time for. And thanks for watching.